Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate having you here today and to help us celebrate Joe Lintz and his wonderful memories. My brother Joe, whom I don't know how many of you know, he's been up in Canada for the last several years and kind of hiding. So you locals probably haven't seen him in a while. But Joe's here to start us off this morning, and I'll take up a middle section. I'm Steve, the young brother, and middle brother Chris gets to finish up with this little thing that we put together for you. And this is an idea of just sharing some thoughts about Dad's life. We kind of wrote a little eulogy, and we're going to kind of take some asides and some side trips while we read through this with some personal memories as we go. So Joe gets to launch us off.
All right, thank you. Thanks to those of Steve, to you all for coming out this morning or this afternoon. We're gathered here today to honor and celebrate the spirit and memory of our father Joseph Lintz Jr. As we sketch a brief outline of his life and accomplishments, we hope you remember the person and personality of who he was. We invite anyone to come forward. Can you shut the door?
Guys with your hearing aids that are turned all the way up and can't hear, there's some empty chairs up front.
We invite anyone to come forward and share the story of remembrance of Dad to contribute to our knowledge of him more intimately. Joseph Lintz Jr. was born June 15, 1921 in Manhattan, New York. His parents were both health professionals, and once established in his Park Avenue practice, Dr. Joseph Sr. moved to the suburbs of Yonkers, where Dad and his younger brother Worth were raised to adolescence. Dad and Worth grew up sailing off Long Island in their youth. Then he attended Horace Mann School in Riverdale, and upon graduation was accepted at Williams College in Massachusetts. We believe it was at Horace Mann that Dad developed his love of singing in the choir. He also played football for Williams during his freshman year. Dad pursued a very full academic and extracurricular college career and attended at least one geological field camp school in Wyoming. With the outbreak of World War II, Williams College went on an accelerated teaching schedule with Saturday classes, and my dad graduated with a degree in geology from Williams a full month early in 1942. Before the age of 20, he had secured his first full-time professional job working in Washington, D.C. for the U.S. Geological Survey on an Army Air Corps contract to make manuscript maps of Europe from aerial photographs. He met his future wife, Mary Avis Powell, at a weekend party hosted by one of the USGS staff. In his diary, he mentions that she was fairly tall, blue-eyed blonde with a great talent in arts and crafts. Together we clicked, and I loved her completely. Due to a desire to be more directly involved in the war effort, Dad resigned his position with the USGS in 1943 and reported to the draft board to sign up. All the while, Dad was in basic training, officers' candidate school, instructing for an Army map reading course, and finally serving as an intelligence officer at various installations along the East Coast. He maintained a serious courtship with Avie Powell. He chased her until she finally caught him, and they were married January 8, 1944. Dad was sent to England before the invasion and on to France a mere 19 days after D-Day in 1944, where he continued his photo intelligence work for the U.S. Army Air Corps. He also worked in Belgium and was discharged with the rank of captain. Now, if I can just depart for a minute. The consummate scientist that he was prompted him to maintain a complete series of logbooks of all his air travel, starting from this time. The first ones we have date from 1944, and some of them are on display over on the table. But some of the logged entries are interesting because it sounds like he availed himself of the opportunity to fly any chance he could. And some of the entries cite trips from where he was stationed in Reims to the city of Cologne to pick up, or to Cognac, to pick up cases of cognac, which they loaded in a bomb bay of a beat.
In retirement, Dad loved to visit his sons residing in Texas and British Columbia at least once a year, and would think nothing of driving 500 to 600 miles north or 1,000 miles to the southeast in just a few days to do so. Occasionally, Dad or occasionally, thanks to Dad, we would gather for family reunions and spend time together that create the memories that will last each of us a lifetime. Joe and Evie celebrated their 50th anniversary by taking the entire extended family on a Caribbean cruise. Yeah. The family also traveled on a week-long float trip down the Green River in Utah, and we took trips to Mexico and France selected. And especially the combined Joe Lintz and Worth Lintz extended families had a tremendous reunion in Nashville. These memories will linger forever.
Can't get the taste out of my mouth either.
I see.
Sorry, Rich.
Dad also indulged his love for singing by joining the Reno Silver Dollar Chorus, where he was a devoted member for many years. His capacity to recall the lyrics to many of the old barbershop standards was exceeded only by his fine voice in which he expressed those tunes. Dad also harbored a lifelong love for trains. He matured in the highly romantic era of steam locomotives. Now, he loved trains so much that when the last free-running steam engines were going cross country, he bought tickets and had all of his kids jump on, I think, the Reno to Truckee route, and we got to ride the last steam locomotive through Reno out to Truckee to do that, but that was, I know, a highlight of his life for doing that. As a lad, he had a Lionel train set, which he kept for more than 70 years. He also would have liked to have been more engaged in the model railroading.
I'm Greg. I'm his youngest grandson, and I missed his teaching years, most of that stuff, but I do have one story which I get to share with my brother, only he didn't stand up fast enough, so he's going to tell it. I'll be probably better at it. We were, all right, so we were, how old? We were heading up to Canada to visit our family. And we're driving up with Grandpa. And I don't know how many people got to drive with my grandfather. Had the privilege.
Tell about it.
Yeah, I hear the field trips are quite as fun too that he took. But it's a little scary sometimes. You're sitting there, and I'm in the back seat for most of this because I got to play asleep. As we put it, and Ian's our navigator. And so, but we're pretty young, and I wake up one time, and there's forest all around us. And we're coming up this curve, and Ian's sitting with the map, and he's doing this. And says, so where are we? And Ian's, I don't know. So I wake up, and I'm thinking, oh great, we're lost. And you know, from there on, it's like, okay, well, let's just fantasize wildly about how to get there. So then we're driving along, and he had his patented straightener, turner-outener, something along those lines. There you go. Thank you. And so, where there's a turn, you cut over into the other lane, so you don't have to turn as much. Which is particularly fun when there's a car coming the other direction, to find out. So, you know, a lot of things like this, and every night, Ian's, you know, stressed whenever we get to a hotel room, and you wake up, and Grandpa, you know, just passes out, you know, nice and calm, and then Ian and me are sitting there awake while he's snoring. And then, but we finally get to Canada, and my parents got to fly up. And I don't know if anybody does this better than my mom, but, you know, she describes it as we walk up to them, can we fly home? Please.
That's exactly what happened with my dad and Mel's dad. My dad passed away. There it is.
Actually, they're both smiling.
She's going to want to stay here forever.